Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are uncovering the hidden infrastructure behind something you probably do 100 times a day. Every single time you tap a key, send a quick text, or drop that perfectly chosen emoji into a group chat, you're actually interacting with a vast, invisible system. We all just kind of expect our phones to perfectly understand what we're typing, right? But getting a device to translate a physical keystroke into a letter on a screen, it's not magic. It's the result of some seriously intense, highly coordinated design. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the secret counsel behind every single keystroke.
So let me ask you this. Who controls the keys to your keyboard? Take a guess. You might assume it's some massive government regulatory body or, I don't know, maybe just the company that made the phone in your pocket. But the truth is actually way stranger than that. The answer is a tiny California nonprofit. This under-the-radar organization has more power over what you are able to type than almost any world leader. And as we'll see, they answer to a fascinating, kind of shadowy council made up of the world's biggest tech giants.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the number of people running this system is absolutely mind-blowing. 3. Literally, just 3 full-time employees handle the day-to-day operations of this massive global framework. Now, to be completely fair, they do work with hundreds of really passionate volunteers and contributors all around the world who help carry the load. But at its core, the central administrative team holding the entire digital world's alphabet together is just 3 people.
Part 1. The Digital Tower of Babel. Text encoding before 1987.
To really understand why the work of those 3 people is so incredibly monumental, we have to look backward. Before 1987, digital communication was essentially a digital Tower of Babel. It was chaotic, highly inconsistent, and terribly fragmented. And this wasn't just some minor tech glitch, it was a massive barrier. If you were a user in Russia, you literally had to juggle 3 entirely different encoding systems just to read a simple email. If you were a Swedish programmer, your perfectly clean code would just turn into garbled gibberish. And honestly, the most shocking part? Completely incompatible systems meant that many people in Japan and China literally could not even type their own names on a computer. Text encoding problems completely forced the industry's hand. A global fix wasn't just a nice-to-have, it was desperately needed.
Part 2. One registry to rule them all. The birth of Unicode.
Enter our visionary problem solvers. 3 brilliant engineers, Joe Becker and Lee Collins over at Xerox and Mark Davis at Apple, stepped up to the plate. They realized patching these broken systems was a losing game. Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds, because it happened fast. In 1987, they established the core concept. Let's give every single character, in every single language, a completely unique number. By 1988, Joe Becker drafted the foundational paper and officially coined the term Unicode. Mark Davis then went on this massive world tour to basically evangelize the concept to the tech world. And it worked. After 4 years of intense refinement, the Unicode Consortium shipped version 1.0 worldwide in October of 1991. So, the crucial point is, what exactly is Unicode? Put simply, it's one giant shared registry that gives every character in every language a unique, universal ID number. This shared, standardized registry was absolutely essential for digital communication to actually function. Without it, your phone couldn't talk to your laptop, and a computer in Tokyo wouldn't be able to render a website hosted in London. It's basically the universal translator of the modern age.
To make this perfectly concrete, let's look at a super simple example, the capital letter C. In the Unicode standard, its elegant, simple ID code is 67. That means on an iPhone, a Windows PC, or even your high-tech smart fridge, the number 67 always, without fail, translates to a capital C. No translation errors, no gibberish. It's exactly the same on every single device on the planet.
And here's the true genius of the whole shebang. Because these IDs are just regular numbers, there's absolutely no upper limit. You can just keep adding new languages, ancient scripts, and new emojis forever without ever having to repeat an ID. This infinite expandability is why Unicode currently defines about 155,000 characters spanning 168 different writing systems, and it all functions seamlessly across an astonishing 23 billion devices worldwide. That is massive.
Part 3. The Shadowy Council. Who really decides?
Now, I want you to contrast that immense global scale of 23 billion devices with the tiny staff of 3 we talked about earlier. Obviously, 3 people aren't sitting in a room making all the final decisions for planet Earth. And this brilliantly illustrates what's actually happening. The true decision makers operate on a corporate pay-to-play system. Right at the top, 8 big companies, Heavyweights like Apple, Google, Meta, and Microsoft pay $50,000 a year to be full members. That $50,000 entry fee literally buys them ultimate voting control over every new character. Below them, supporting members pay $20,000 for half a vote. Then you've got associate members like the Wikipedia Foundation, who pay $5,000 just to be in the room, but they get absolutely no vote. Individual volunteers join for free, but again, zero voting power. The tech giants are literally buying the keys to the kingdom.
Now, despite this very clear pay-to-play dynamic, the CEO of the Unicode Consortium, Trail Cowison, views this structure as an incredibly successful collaboration. As he says, I think of Unicode as a bit like this neutral ground, where these organizations that are ostensibly competitors saw value in working together for the greater good, basically acting like a digital Switzerland to maintain global standards.
Part 4. The Tech Giant Veto. The Illusion of Control. So, that neutral collaboration sounds great in theory, right? A happy, working consensus. But to see who really has the final say, let's look at the actual journey of an emoji. Step 1 is beautifully democratic. Literally anyone can file a proposal. That proposal goes to the emoji subcommittee. If they like it, the technical committee takes a simple majority vote. If it passes, Unicode assigns it a unique ID. Pretty straightforward. But step 4, well, that's where the twist happens. The tech giants themselves have to actually draw and ship their own visual version of that character onto your phone. Now, what's really interesting about this is the massive loophole hiding at the very end of the process. We call it the ultimate veto. Even after the Unicode Consortium officially approves a character, even after it gets a unique ID and is technically part of the global standard, the tech giants hold the ultimate power. They can simply choose not to render it on their keyboards. If they don't draw and ship it, you're never going to see it.
To prove exactly how this power dynamic plays out, we just have to look back at 2016. The Unicode standard went through its whole process and officially approved a rifle emoji. It had an ID, it was in the registry, the whole 9 yards. But Apple made the decision to refuse to deploy it on their keyboards. And instead of pushing back, the rest of the committee basically just fell in line. The rifle emoji is technically still part of the Unicode standard today, but you will never see it on your keyboard. It's concrete proof that while the nonprofit creates the standard, the true gatekeepers of our digital language are the tech giants holding that veto power.
Interestingly, though, the era of these fierce, high-profile battles over new emojis seems to be cooling off. We've kind of hit a steady state. Just look at this massive drop. Back in 2020, there were 117 new emoji approvals, but by 2024, that number plummeted to just 8. It looks like our digital vocabulary, at least when it comes to the tiny pictures we text each other, has largely matured.
Part 5. The Invisible Digital Fabric More Than Just Emojis. Let's zoom out for a second here. Because while emojis get all the media spotlight, Unicode is quietly underpinning the hidden infrastructure of our entire global digital language. It is literally the invisible digital fabric running in the background. It's not just smiling faces. Unicode is the system telling your computer how to handle complex time conversions. It dictates exactly how to sort things alphabetically. It flawlessly manages bidirectional text, switches between imperial and metric systems, handles crazy calendar formats, and even figures out text wrapping for languages that don't use spaces. This tiny team and their corporate council, they're holding the entirety of our digital language together.
Which brings us to our final takeaway. Unicode brilliantly solved a chaotic, massive problem. It is absolutely essential, and it works incredibly well. But as we've seen throughout this explainer, it's also fundamentally a system where a handful of powerful corporations hold the final veto over how we communicate globally. So I want to leave you pondering this. If these tech giants have the absolute power to control and veto our digital language at its most foundational level, what else are they quietly editing out of our view? Think about that next time you open your keyboard. Thanks for joining me, and as always, keep digging into the systems that run our world.